Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our new college football revamped series that we have got going on for you today. And now we are going to be following the coaching life of the one and the only Chuck Champion. As we will start out not as a head coach, but we are going to be starting our journey as an offensive coordinator. And eventually, if on down the line, an opportunity comes up, then we will definitely take advantage of that. And we will do what we can to move into the head coaching realm. Now, looking at it just based off appearance wise, try to go as normal as the game will allow. It's the logo is college football revamped. I've done some of the updates for it. I'm not sure if they came through, I would say, as properly as they're supposed to, because I've seen some people's look a lot, I guess, cleaner. But hey, it's what I like, and it looks good to me. So now, here's where I do go a little off kilter with my alma mater for Chuck as North Texas. I do that because I did attend there for a little while. I did not finish. That's a whole different story for a different time. But I attended, so I consider that, in a way, to be a half alma mater. So that's why I went on ahead and chose that. Now, I did choose the Texas spread for my offensive play style, and I do normally run a more conservative clock management, hold the ball type of offense. So that's going to be kind of my focus going forward. Now, looking at setting up this basic dynasty, we are going to go on the Heisman ratings for offense and obviously defense skill. I thought about doing 8-minute quarters. I ended up changing it to 10. I normally like a 15-minute quarter, but just with the way the game works out, it's one of those things that 10 is probably just the better choice overall to make. Now, I don't make any changes with sliders yet. That might happen as we go along in the series, but not anything that I have at this time. And as far as bowl games go, I know in the revamped you can do the playoff series, but I just have to get myself more knowledgeable on how to actually set that up with the programs they have available for that. So right now, just to try to make it as playoffy as I could, I took away all the automatic bowl bids. So there is no more, well, you won the Big 12, so you're going to the Fiesta Bowl. Or you won the Big 10, you're going to the Rose Bowl. Now, it's going to be based off your rankings, where you are, and all that. So taking a look at the team that we're going to be jumping into, I thought about going with, obviously, a lower-level team, but I decided to make the adjustment and go with the Tennessee Volunteers. For one, yes, they are in the SEC, but if you saw, they're definitely not what could be considered a powerhouse at this time anymore. And I don't think they've truly been a threat in the SEC since, I don't know, I guess Peyton Manning was their quarterback, maybe. I don't really follow their history too much. I just see them lose a lot of big games on national television. So that's why I decided to go with them for this one. Now, we did get our first upgrade, obviously, as offensive coordinator. I go with the up-tempo upgrade, mainly just because of the resistance to injury and the stamina that comes off of it. When you're sustaining long, steady drives, you need to make sure your guys are effective all the way through from the beginning to the end. So that's really my motivation into going with that. Now we get to set up our recruiting board. And we got 3 states that Tennessee recruits out of. So in generating these, the pipeline states for Tennessee, obviously Tennessee, but then there's also Florida and Georgia, which seems kind of odd that we don't really have somewhere like North Carolina or South Carolina set up as a pipeline state. So the longer we stay with Tennessee, maybe we can work to change that. I know some recruits that we get that we're going to be looking at today are going to be from those states. So maybe we can start working our way into that area and become more of a national recruiting school than just maintaining to those 3. Now, not to say those 3 don't put out some good talent. And taking a look at what we need, on defense, we got a lot of sets that we need. especially the defensive line, middle linebacker, strong safety. In the offense, it's primarily the offensive line is going to be our needs. Now, that being said, if you get an opportunity at a top of the line quarterback or receiver or running back, you have to take that shot, right? So you can't really not do that. And now recruiting. How are we going to do the recruiting? So what I'm looking at, I'm not going to limit myself to say you can only do 3 stars or 4 stars in these go-arounds, but we do have to be in the top 5 of the individual school ranking to start the season. If we're not in the top 5, then we're not going to go after them. That's kind of how we're going to be taking this. So that's why if you look, Miller, the athlete, he is a 5-star. We're number 3rd. Campbell coming in, we're 3rd on his school as a 4-star athlete. And this is just running through all states in the top 100 that we have. And so that's where we're going to start our recruiting goals. Obviously, you try to get people in the top athletes. But once again, when you limit yourself to having to be in the top 5, we do miss out on some individuals. And that's just kind of the risk we got to take. And so that's why looking at him, Steve Russ coming in as an athlete, we're going to have to do some further scouting on him to make sure that he really is, that he can fit within our program, right? So we know we need defensive ends, we need linebackers, strong safeties, offensive linemen. But especially with the athletes, it's going to take a little bit further of the scouting to see what their speed is. Maybe you pick up an athlete that ends up being a great mobile quarterback, that ends up being a great wide receiver, a great safety. But so it's something that we're going to have to look at. Now, out of that top 100, we did get 13 recruits we are going to go after. So now we're going to start taking a look at just our main pipeline states at this point. We're going to start out here with Tennessee. And obviously, we got one guy, Roach, but Carl Pryor coming in at 5'11", 194-pound athlete. We are 2nd on his. Same thing with Evans. Paul Ware, we are number 1. He's a cornerback. He's a 4-star. He'd be a great pickup if we can maintain keeping his interest throughout this season. And so, taking a look, I am going after a couple of 3-star halfbacks. We got plenty of depth there, but, I'm a fan of the Longhorns in real life, so I know that just because you have 5 running backs on your team right now doesn't mean you're going to have 5 running backs come the start of the next season. Odds are we end up losing at least 3 or 4 in the offseason in general. So that's why I'm still going to try to get a decent running back here or there. But it's not going to be someone that's my main focus. Now, coming in at Georgia, looking at Robert Robinson, a tackle, a 4-star athlete, that 4-star tackle, that's someone that we would really need on our line going forward. James Washington, he's a 3-star guard, but we are number 1, so I think if we can get him with using as little recruiting points as possible and still pick up some of these other guys that might be the 4 stars, that it would be a major advantage for us coming in. Justin Rust, finishing that off, getting him that last one, little 3-star right there. Once again, like I said, interest, number 5 or better. So once you get into the 3 stars, now the 2 stars, it's one of those, these guys are risk to go after as far as what they're going to add to your team, especially when you start seeing, JUCO talent in there. That makes it a little bit more hesitant to want to grab them, because if they're a 2-star coming out of JUCO, how much further can they really go in the limited time you have with them? And so that's kind of an issue that we've been looking at. Now here's Kevin Green, a 3-star defensive end coming out of Florida. We are 2nd on his ranking board, so that's something to keep in mind. And same thing with Kevin Roberts, outside linebacker. And if we need to shift some of these guys around as far as positioning, that's something we can definitely do. So that's why I'm not afraid to kind of pull up some of these 3 stars. Like Aaron Huff, he's a 3-star free safety, decent 40 at 4.48, good bench press, semi-good squat, but I think I've got plenty of depth there, and with some of my other recruits that I have for strong safety, I'm not so sure going for him is something that is really going to benefit us going forward. I think if we got some good talent there, we got some interest already spawned off in those positions, so let's just kind of move forward from there. Now, Josh Dunlap, a center coming out of Florida, he's a big kid. He's got a lot of strength and a lot of speed or squats and bench press. His speed for a center, I mean, it is what you expect it to be. Nothing that's outstanding, obviously, but still a decent enough athlete. And for the offense that we're going to be running, I did choose the Texas style spread, so we have a lot of options mixed in, along with a lot of different play action passes that we can do. So it's going to be kind of an interesting year ahead of us. I did finish hammering down the pipeline states, and now it's just kind of taking a look at we just got 3 more spots to fill at this stage of the game. So we sorted it by interest. So all these guys, we are number 1 on their recruiting board. You'll notice they are 3-star athletes. But that's just kind of the way it goes at this point. When you start ranking them by, interest level, obviously some of the lower stars are going to have you higher up, especially when you're a school like Tennessee. So now we do have that filled up, and I probably won't show much more recruiting until later on in the actual season, maybe once we reach that halfway point and we start getting visits scheduled and all that. I'll give you all a recruiting update to let y'all know where we kind of stand. So now let's take a look at doing some red shirts right now. And the easiest thing that I always do, 1, you're probably going to have to be a freshman. 2, you can't really be in much of a starting role. Now, Chris Burton and Travis Thornton trying to decide which one to redshirt from here. Both of them, they're fairly close in rating, a 72 to a 76, but I do go with Thornton just because he's number 4 on the depth chart, and if need, I'd rather have Burton available over him if it came down to it. Halfback, obviously, our 6th running back is a freshman. I'm going to get him knocked out. Now, Nick Rust or Sims, that's going to be a little bit tougher of a battle as far as receiver goes, but Rust is going to go ahead and get the red shirt because Reed, that's right below him, is only a 71 overall versus his 72. So it's not anything that is super, massive in difference of talent there. Now, tight end, I do get McDowell and going ahead and get him red-shirted just because Siegel, he's already a redshirt freshman, so we have depth there as far as the 2 of them. If need, I'll have to unredshirt him. It's not something you want to do, but we don't go a whole lot of real heavy-set formations in the offense that we're running. So he is someone that I think we can get him developed. He's a 69 overall, so if we develop him properly, by the time he comes up from this stage, he'll actually be over that 69 rating and possibly even jump over Siegel. If we can get him after training to advance up, I don't know, maybe say 4 or 5 training points there, that would just be a massive advantage for what we can do. And that's another thing that I generally like to look at when it comes to recruiting and all those aspects, is especially when it comes to redshirting. It's kind of a gamble, but you hope that you can get beyond to where they are versus, just minor advancement. Let them actually develop up and possibly become star players. So that's what we're looking at. Now, right tackle, Michael Billings, he's a 3rd string. He's a freshman. Obviously, he's going to end up getting it, so that way we can keep him for another 3 or 4 more years beyond now. So left outside linebacker, Thomas, he's got some speed. He doesn't have that much speed, and his strength is a little bit lacking, so I did redshirt him instead of moving him over. But that was kind of just my thinking on that. And then Reggie Higgins, freshman DB cornerback, is 68 overall. He's like number 7 on the depth chart, so his playing time would be incredibly limited to probably not seeing the field at all. So might as well keep him an extra year, let him grow and develop before we put him out on the field, and just give him that time. That's what we need. That's how you build up your talent, is you get that time from him. Now we're going to take a look at our schedule. It does say strength of schedule is A plus just because we're in the SEC. Other than that, starting out our first two games against FCS East are going to be pretty easy. Western Kentucky shouldn't be much of a challenge. Oregon will be our biggest non-conference opponent. Florida, obviously next. Playing at Florida is always going to be tough. Home versus South Alabama. Home versus Georgia. And then the next games we have South Carolina playing at Alabama. That's going to be a tough one. At Missouri. Home versus Auburn. And then home versus Vanderbilt, which they have 25, which shouldn't be too much of a challenge. I'm hoping, depending on what happens throughout this season. And then we're going to finish it off with Kentucky. So it's going to be definitely an interesting setup and something that you should definitely stay tuned for to see what we can do with our offense and really just with our career overall and how we can get things going and advance on up. So let's go ahead and start jumping up, getting ready for the season to begin. And while we do get ready for that, I do just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And if you do like today's video and you're excited about the college football revamped and all the different series that can spawn off of it until we get EA's college football, definitely hit that thumbs up button and hit that little bell notification icon so that way you can be notified whenever we get any future college football videos for this series or in a couple years, and also all of the other content that we have on Champ and Sons. We do have multiple series going right now as far as Madden with the Broncos, Houston Aeros for NHL hockey. We got Sunderland for FIFA. We got Formula One. We got everything going. And so definitely stay tuned for that. And ooh, look at that. My goodness, we found 7 gems in our recruiting. 7 of them. That's top-notch recruiting right there. Then again, you go for the top 100. That's probably going to happen quite a bit. So this should definitely be an interesting season to see how it shapes out. In the next episode, we will take on FCS East and Western Kentucky. So I will see y'all in that one. And just like I said before, remember to subscribe if you have not already. And as always, everybody, stay safe and, well, you know how it goes. Later, y'all.